this part I wanted to save specifically for you guys from my debate with Tim Pool. Oh. And Matt
nice.
was...
I appreciate that.
Yes. Matt was specifically, this was his idea that I just want to give him credit for, because we were chatting before the debate and he was like, Tim is obsessed with this AI thing when it comes to the 2024 Republican primary. He was very fixated and has been tweeting and talking a lot about the fact that DeSantis used AI fake images of Trump kissing Fauci. And this is why he's leaning towards Trump. For me, that seems immensely pedantic and silly.
Frivolous, you might say.
Frivolous. And it also seems like, Tim, you're trying to talk about like manners as opposed to policy. And so I was trying to get him to answer questions about what he thinks about the differences between DeSantis and Trump on policy, which is, in my opinion, a position that he does not want to be in, because what he's all about is serving his audience. And he definitely doesn't want to make a choice on that front. But here we go. This is that part of the interview. Well, you brought up Trump and DeSantis in West Virginia. I'm curious because I saw, Tim, you've been like upset a little bit about how DeSantis has been, or maybe not upset.
A little bit.
Okay.
No.
Oh, you're pissed. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll characterize it as you're a little pissed at how DeSantis has been using those AI images of Trump. Trump
used
hugging
3 of them one time.
Yeah. What? I mean, can you expand on that thought?
Ron DeSantis' team, in order to smear Donald Trump, ran fake images of him kissing and hugging Fauci alongside real images and then wrote real life Trump over the top.
Right.
And it's one thing to play politics, which I despise. When you get someone being like, Nancy Pelosi voted against this act. It's like the Saving Puppies Act, but it's actually a bill that like cuts taxes for oil companies, or the inverse where it's like, insert Republican voted for whatever. I despise all of that. But actually fabricating images, shrinking them down and placing them alongside real images and then writing real life Trump on it.
Can you pull up the image so I can see it?
Yeah. So, I mean, is that kind of the core of your, would you say as of now, if you were to vote today, you'd be voting for Trump?
Yeah.
But that's the core of your disagreement?
So, there's a lot more than that. Here, take a look at this.
I'm not going to elaborate.
This is as I feel like this is campaign ending. I feel like this.
Really? Oh my God.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny to me.
The manufacture of fake images to trick people into voting for someone is, look, this is the open door.
Pause it 1 second.
Ron DeSantis.
Go ahead, Brendan.
I think he might be blowing it out of proportion.
I think so. I think
you think?
He might be inflating it into an actual reason when it's actually just frivolous bullshit, so he doesn't have to take an actual stand on the real differences between these candidates.
Seems a little woke to me.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think his telling of what's in that ad is accurate either. Yes, there are AI images there, but I don't think he said that it says real life Trump, right? That's not in the ad. That's just in that meme he pulled up. They don't DeSantis doesn't say real life Trump. I mean, this is being pedantic.
But Binder, you know why no one should care about that? Because no one should even care about the thing that he's...
Right, of course.
I mean,
right. I'm just saying, even Trump, from his argument, his thing is not even correct either.
I think it's smart, though. I think it's smart to abandon DeSantis. I don't think it's a politics thing at all. I think it's just why should I hitch my belt to a sinking ship? Why would I do that?
Right, but at least then be honest about what your position is from a policy perspective. But
because Donald Trump, if you remember during Hurricane Dorian, used a Sharpie to enlarge the area that a hurricane might hit. And I'll just say that is much bigger because at least DeSantis illustrates a point, which is that Trump actually, for all the bullshit he did with Fauci, he's closer to Fauci than DeSantis is.
Operation Warp Speed was a better thing than whatever the hell the Republicans are now talking about, which was we did need to give away money to pharmaceutical corporations in order to get the vaccine fast-tracked. I would have done it in a way that said, you can get this money, your stock price will still go up, you guys will get rich, but this is now national property. We're nationalizing this. There's no intellectual property associated with it. If you're getting government money, this is what you have to do.
Yeah. And Tim doesn't want to talk about, oh yeah, I'm endorsing the guy who's closer to Fauci, because that'll piss off his audiences.
Exactly.
You have to address that.
So this was the tension that I'm trying to hammer him down on here, but he keeps returning to the manners of it all.
Right. We called this out when that DeSantis clip first came up.
Yeah.
And we watched it on this show, and there was already, like, I don't know if we even saw Tim's specific take, but we saw some other conservatives also up in arms over it. And we all were basically in agreement that, like, this is just their excuse to jump off the sinking DeSantis ship. They had, crossed their fingers that DeSantis would be the guy. They see how DeSantis performs compared to how Trump performs, even with all the baggage Trump has. And they're saying to themselves, oh, holy shit, Trump is still my guy. DeSantis is embarrassing. He sucks. But there's still that DeSantis contingent within the right that's much bigger than any other, Trump competitor contingent. So they're worried about pissing those people off, and they needed something to bring them back, to give them an excuse to go back to Trump. And this is it, because there's no meat on them bones. So it's not going to piss anybody off. It's just a very easy excuse to say, this is why I support Trump.
Right.
But is this before or after Trump retweeted, when DeSantis announced his candidacy on Twitter, when Trump retweeted, I know it didn't come from him directly, but he retweeted that fake conversation.
The voice,
like,
this is after,
DeSantis, with DeSantis and like the devil. And,
right. That's such a good point.
And like
Trump
Hitler.
did it first.
But Trump literally
and did it better.
But Trump literally during a hurricane changed the path of the
That's not AI. That's
He's gonna do that too, though.
artificial intelligence.
I mean, it's manipulating media to create a different impression, and I will say that impression has much higher stakes than like, hey, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I guess I need to evacuate now.
Yeah, right.
Trump's, then this dumb bullshit, because again, it illustrates something that Tim Pool does not want to address head on, which is that you're endorsing the guy who is closer to Fauci than the other guy. Which is not to say, again, I know Trump said this stuff about bleach. I know he said all this dumb bullshit. The fact is, DeSantis is hitting him that he was too proactive on COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Voting for someone is, look, this is the open door. Ron DeSantis decided to be the person to stick his foot over the line and say, we will manufacture fake images to win.
I mean, they do say that they're fake. Like,
No.
But people
this is
would
someone,
probably miss
They
this.
don't say it's fake.
No, it says right there, fake.
This is an image calling out the fake.
Actual justice war, could anybody be more checked out? Like,
well, I mean, he was a little intimidated, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
It was not easy to sideline. Not hard to sideline him.
He got benched
I'll just
pretty
say.
early, yeah.
Yeah.
Graphics. They wrote real life Trump, and this is NPR circling the fake images to call them out.
Right.
They ran it as real life Trump. Now, I understand if you scrutinize the images, you can tell they're fake. This one says Mahehap Wems. Okay, yeah, that's not English, and it's under the White House emblem. But when it's in a video that's a minute long, and you pass this, I've already had people tell me that they didn't realize it was fake. Right. And I've already people say, I talked to my parents about it, they thought it was real. And so what the DeSantis fans are doing now is they're like, can you believe Tim actually thought those were real? Like, dude, if you want to play that game and call me stupid and insult me for calling out DeSantis' campaign for doing this, I literally don't care. It changes nothing of my moral stance that this stepped well over the line. Now, I got to be honest. You go back in time to the first time a politician lied, and people were probably like, can you believe he actually lied to us? And we know that's bad, and I hate all of it. But this is the next level. This is like,
Moron.
It's bad enough they're all lying.
Well, what's the core of your disagreement otherwise then? I mean, because if it's with COVID, I would say I'm more on Trump's side with that kind of stuff. I liked Operation Warp Speed. Look, I would have done a little differently for giving away government money for vaccines that we should have nationalized them, and the intellectual property should have been waived so that everybody could have had access to it also in the
publicly funded should be publicly owned.
I'm in favor of that, Tim. So, I mean, that's one thing that I think Trump is better. And look, just DeSantis is, frankly, an anti-LGBTQ demagogue. And that's where I think Trump's less dangerous than DeSantis.
He is, but I think it's more so the Florida legislature that's doing it. and then he's latching onto it. Because I think when it comes to real issues related to this stuff, he's mum.
He's been anti-wokeness is the
enough.
center of his campaign.
Yeah, he kinda made that at the forefront of his campaign.
No, for sure. I like DeSantis
Trump
in a
wouldn't
lot of
even
ways.
send the National Guard against the Black Lives Matter rioters.
That's a different question. That's not wokeness. That's like crime and law and stuff. DeSantis.
Yeah. Well, keep going. I try to get. I ask him 3 or 4 times. I feel like at least. Oh, yeah. Let's keep going.
That's a different question. That's not wokeness. That's like crime and law and stuff. DeSantis, I think, is mostly surface level. I like a lot of his policies. I think he's.
What do you like about his policies?
I mean, at the beginning of COVID, it wasn't particularly good, right? He did a lot of what everyone else did. But to be fair, I was very much like, I guess, I was very much, Thomas Massey didn't want to do this big spending bill, and I said, this is crazy. The economy, like, we don't know what's going on. There are people dying. We're seeing videos of people dying in the street, and so I think, hindsight being 2020, I look back and I'm like, I probably should not have just gone along with all of that. That was probably stupid. Ron DeSantis did initially, but then changed.
Can we just stop on some of the things he says? He thinks we shouldn't have got money during the pandemic, or we should have just allowed people to go spread the virus. Now, Tim, you've gotten dumber.
Yeah. I mean, and who knows if that's even an accurate representation, obviously.
And said, you know what, this is not making sense. We're reopening. And I think that made a lot more sense.
It was also under extreme pressure. Like Andrew Cuomo was the most promoted governor in the country, and he was the most attacked.
So DeSantis did well in not the first, but he did well in reopening things back up.
But what policies do you like generally about him? I mean, besides the COVID stuff, what are the other policies like as governor? I mean, I think you think it's just the state legislature that's putting together these anti.
I mean, look, think it's mostly
Tim,
them.
You said that there was a grooming event happening at Club Q, and that was after the shooting, right? Which is essentially kind of saying, well, look, they had it coming a little bit. I mean, no, you didn't say that, but that's the implication.
I actually said, how do we prevent these things from happening? If people, so I tweeted. So
you actually seem pretty aligned with DeSantis on the the anti.
But I don't think it's him. I think it's the Florida legislature. And if DeSantis becomes president, you think Congress is going to vote for any of these things? As for the Club Q thing, I said, if people keep saying wood chippers, what did you think was going to happen, right? I am saying,
stop. I mean, look, we don't even need to get more into it. I ask him more times to try to get specific about the differences. But this is it's really hard to listen to because this is the pedantry that is embedded in this show. I mean, it's talking about nothing. He said nothing there.
Well, what he did say was just factually inaccurate. The idea that the legislature is leading DeSantis, like DeSantis is very clear about putting pressure on the legislature to like give him certain like bills and things like that. Like that's a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's a necessary lie to tell, I guess, but it's stupid.
I think it's also impractical to make this like your line in the sand, because Trump is definitely going to use like AI images in a similar fashion in the upcoming election. Of course.
I mean, all Tim has to do is say, well, DeSantis started it.
Yeah, he started it, I guess. I think it seems like he just likes DeSantis's bigotry, but doesn't like how weak he is in trying to like take over the country, basically. It seems to be more or less the sort of the difference. He sees that Trump is stronger. He wishes that he was more vocal on the anti-LGBTQ stuff. I don't know what his opinions on DeSantis using the Florida government to go after Disney because they stood against that is. I would assume he's pro it, but wouldn't say so. But ultimately, it seems like DeSantis's policies are less important than his willingness to wield government to marginalize groups in any other group. In Florida, rather.
But apparently it's just the state legislature doing it.
I mean,
and then I asked him later, presidential platform, let's go, let's try to nail you down. I mean, there was nothing that he could get to that was specific because he was uncomfortable with me continuing to return to the question.
As the governor of a state with a state legislature that's majority Republican, you would think the guy would have some sway over how they vote. I mean, I could tell you right here in New York, our governor, when he was Andrew Cuomo, who I would say is probably a lot like some of these Republican governors in terms of how they treat the state legislature. He had a lot of sway over them. And I highly doubt DeSantis
Yeah, right.
Come on.
It's also funny how he said that DeSantis was like the most attacked governor during the COVID pandemic, because that's not really quite how I remember it. Maybe he was the most criticized with some of his policy choices, but he was really the Republicans' answer to Cuomo. Like, he was supposed to be like the inverse Cuomo, who was doing things the Republican way, but still managing to keep deaths down, as long as you don't look at the death count in the news. And it seems like a lot of them hitched their cart to him during that time when you couldn't like Trump, and his name was in the news as an alternative, because they have a very, very unlikable bench so far. And now they're just trying to find ways to, take back that support, essentially.
Yeah.
Politico, April, Florida legislature passes bill allowing DeSantis to run for president as governor. Florida legislature in Politico, May 1st, 2023. Florida legislature, we delivered for DeSantis this session. The governor can rightly claim for having one of the biggest sessions certainly in Florida history.
Yeah, they're just, just big fans.
As opposed to a political headline that's like, Florida legislature, DeSantis can shove it. We're going to do whatever we want.
We're bringing DeSantis along kicking and screaming with the anti-woke agenda.
DeSantis is too woke, and we're not letting him have it.
He's an empty, boxy suit.
But that's what they said about Trump, too. Whenever Trump wouldn't do exactly what they wanted in the presidency, was the deep state. There's always some reason why the strong man du jour is actually not following through with the more extreme promises they make to their audience on their show, which largely won't be possible as a legislative goal.
Yeah, exactly. All right, just one of the
Mickey Mouse is really pulling the strings behind the
elements.
Florida legislature.
Look, it would be more respectable if Tim said, "I hate Ron's voice."
Yeah, I mean, there would be some honesty there, more honesty than what we saw in that period of the debate.
We could talk about how much we agree on an issue. That would be something to agree upon.
Yes. But he doesn't want to look like he agrees with me. He wanted to say, the left was anti-war or whatever, and that didn't go well for him either. But
he does that a lot. Like, he did that when I was on too. Like, he does say like, oh, that's what I'm to the left of you on that. Even I agree with you on that. And then like you found out, you push him on exactly what that means, and it's just him saying he's to the left of you or agreeing with you on that. Because when it gets down to the details, he doesn't. Like, for me, it was the Green New Deal. He said he supports the Green New Deal. And I was like, what? You support the Green New Deal? All I hear you is rage against it. And he goes, well, I don't like AOC's version of the Green New Deal that gives free college to black people. That's his exact words to me. And I was like, bruh.
Yeah, what a lie. I'm sorry, but I don't want to, like, I won't say this. I'll tell you guys later.
His Medicare or his supposed support for, I watched this again on the R.M. Brown's recap, but his supposed, when he said like, oh yeah, I support single payer, universal healthcare, whatever. And then he starts to define it a little bit. And he's like, yeah, if somebody's having an episode or they break an arm, or it's like just emergency sort of coverage, like basically you'd get in an emergency room. Yeah. Which is absolutely moronic from the terms of like keeping being like an efficient healthcare system. Because I mean, I think Ben Burns made this point, but anybody who's familiar with the health debate, like prevention, health and proactive health, like visiting a doctor before, like say you have cancer or have an emergency that makes you do it, is the way to actually address this stuff. So I mean, he hasn't thought about any of this stuff. He says he's pro-choice. If you're pro-choice and pro-universal health care, the government's going to be doing abortions and you're not going to say shit about it. So like let's say you do a culture war episode 20 about that, Tim.
Right. Well, what I will just say is, like, their Wi-Fi network is named after something mocking the Green New Deal. So, like, I mean, it's just and
oh, you can say that.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to. I was like, I thought I was doxing or something, but I don't know.
What is it?
I'll tell you guys the specifics later. I'm not going to say it now.
That's very disciplined.
I mean, I don't like, dude. The guy's calling me a pedophile. I've got to maintain some sort of like moral high ground. I would say.